Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about lesson 5.3, corporations. We are again in your business law book, so just make sure you're in the right textbook. It is the business law. And the goals of today are to discuss the nature of corporations, including their advantages and disadvantages, explain how corporations are created, owned, managed, and terminated, list and describe different types of corporations, including alternatives to full corporate form. Well, without further ado, let's get started. Corporation basics. A corporation is defined as a legal entity or artificial person created through the authority of federal or state law. It can be owned by one or more persons, other corporations, a government body, or a combination of all these. So again, your ownership is not just by one person like a sole proprietor owns it. It can be multiple people. A corporation can own another corporation, a government body can own it, or any combination of the above. It can sue or be sued without its investors being exposed to the risk of losing personal assets to pay any corporate debts that result. So in contrast to the sole proprietor, which was in lesson 5.1, sole proprietors, if you sue a sole proprietor, they are liable. They have legal connection to that business. Here, corporations, they are protecting their investors. So that when you sue a corporation, you're suing the corporation. You are not suing its investors. It continues in existence beyond the withdrawal or death of its owners, due to the free transferability of ownership in the form of certificates of ownership called shares of stock. So who owns a corporation? People who own shares of stock. And that business can be transferred without owners. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide. Advantages of corporations. Perpetual life, limited liability, transferability of ownership interests, ability to attract large sums of capital. They typically do this by selling stocks or other paper products to attract large sums of capital. It is professionally managed. Usually you have CEOs and a board of directors. Some of the disadvantages of a corporate form are double taxation. Double taxation is a term used to describe the way taxes are imposed on corporate shareholders and on corporations. The corporation is taxed on its earnings, aka profits, and then the shareholders are taxed again on the dividends they receive from those earnings. As you remember, a dividend is something that's paid out to a corporation's shareholders. So they refer this to as double taxation. I'm not trying to get involved into a lot of taxation codes right now, but nonetheless, that is double taxation, and corporations are subject to that. They are more costly and more troublesome to organize, and they do face government regulations. Types of corporations: domestic corporation, foreign corporation, an alien corporation, a public corporation, a private corporation, a profit-making corporation, and a non-profit corporation, and a public service corporation. The creation of a corporation, you have to file what's called Articles of Incorporation. You have to form a charter, and you will have shares of stock. So typically with a corporation, and there's a couple different corporations out there, like an S corporation and a C corporation, but like with a C corporation, shares of stock are sold and that is to raise capital. Types of stock: common stock, preferred stock. Okay, common stock. Simply put, each share of common stock represents a share of ownership in a company. For example, if a company declares a dividend of 10 million and there are 20 million shareholders, investors will receive 50 cents for each common share they own. Okay, a preferred stock, a stock that entitles the holder to be a fixed dividend, whose payment takes priority over that of a common stock dividends. The main difference between preferred and common stock is that preferred stock gives no voting rights to shareholders, while common stocks does. Common stockholders are last in line when it comes to company assets, which means they will be paid out after creditors, bondholders, and preferred shareholders. Okay, corporation management. You have a board of directors, fiduciaries, in the Model Business Corporation Act. The Model Business Corporation Act is a model set of law prepared by Committee on Corporate Laws on the sections of business law of the American Bar Association and is followed by, I believe, 24 states. Okay, taking a look at some of the corporate powers, what they have the ability to do is make contracts, borrow money and incur other liabilities, lend money and acquire assets, including all forms of real estate and personal property, make, endorse, and accept commercial paper or orders or promises to pay money, issue various types of stock and bonds, mortgage, pledge, lease, sell, or assign property. So these are all the powers and the abilities that corporate has. So this is continued. They can buy back its own stock. Companies do this sometimes. They buy their own stock, unless this would make it impossible for the corporation to pay its debts or pay off any superior class of stock. They acquire and hold stock in other corporations, provided the result would not violate an antitrust law. They can make reasonable donation or gifts for civic or charitable purposes to promote goodwill in accord with corporate social responsibility. Corporate powers hire and fire agents, independent contractors, and ordinary employees. They establish pension, profit sharing, and other incentive plans for employees. They sue and be sued, utilize other implied powers. Termination of corporations. An incorporator specification or shareholder agreement, loss of charter, consolidation or merger, bankruptcy, court order. So those are all terminations of corporations. Alternatives to the full corporate form. S corporations, limited liability companies, limited liability partnerships. So let's take a quick look at S corporations. They timely filing, domestic corporation, identity of shareholders, number of shareholders, classes of stock. Okay, a limited liability corporation. Limited liability protection and taxation as a partnership. No limitation on the number of members. In liability corporations, they call them members. No limitations as to whom or what can be a stockholder. Members are allowed to participate completely in managing the business. A limited liability partnership, similar to LLCs, used mostly by existing partnerships who find it difficult to convert to an LLC form. Okay, again, I'm going to encourage you guys to read your textbook, read over these different entities, make yourself well versed in this. The slideshows, the PowerPoints are all available to you. And again, make sure you fill out your study guides. If you want to be successful in this class, that study guide will help you assist you with your test. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.